Welcome to another edition of Hollywood Hoops Laid Back Reaction. I'm Josh Martin of Lonzo Wire. He's Eric Pincus of Basketball Insiders and Bleacher Report. And today's episode of Hollywood Hoops Laid Back Reaction is brought to you, as always, by HighFive. HighFive makes meetings awesome with insanely simple video conferencing designed for your meeting rooms. It's the easiest to use solution thanks to their all-in-one hardware and intuitive cloud software. Plus, it's a high-quality experience with industry-leading audio powered by Dolby Voice. It's so easy to use that there's no PIN codes or app downloads. Just click a link in your browser and you're in the meeting. Even the least techie person at your company can figure it out.
With customers in over 100 countries, HighFive is already trusted by the likes of Harry's, Betterment, Warby Parker, and the Girl Scouts of Northern California. To learn more and start your 30-day free trial of insanely simple video conferencing, visit highfive.com. That's HighfiveHQ.com. All right, Josh, we're here to talk a little bit. It's a Sunday. We're relaxed. I haven't shaved. I'm wearing the shirt I wore for my girls' team. We're the orange, thus the orange shirt.
Perfect.
We got the win today. So career high for my daughter, 20 points. So,
Congrats.
Enjoying that. You got to go to the game today. Lakers versus Knicks. What'd you see out there?
Well, first I got to thank you, Eric, for helping hook it up with the tickets. Me and my buddy Roey went out, had a good time at the game. It was 127 to 107. The Lakers beat the Knicks. Remember, this was a Knicks team that the Lakers lost to in overtime in Madison Square Garden when they were on their East Coast road trip back in December. And that was back when the Knicks didn't have Tim Hardaway Jr., and when the Lakers did have Lonzo Ball and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. This time around, who knows what it was? Maybe it was a little bit of the Knicks having too much fun in L.A. on a Saturday night before a Sunday matinee. Classic problems against the Lakers, but the Lakers were without Zoe, no KCP, and they did a really nice job over the course of this game scoring the basketball. They got better defensively in the second half, and the big takeaway, at least for me, was seeing how after the first few minutes of the third quarter, Luke Walton decided to pull Tyler Ennis for what turned out to be the rest of the game. And he went with Jordan Clarkson at point guard. He went with Alex Caruso at point guard. He played those two guys together for long stretches, and they played really phenomenally well. You saw Alex Caruso put up, as a rookie, career highs now in points 9, assists 8, rebounds 4, and steals 2. And you saw Jordan Clarkson have his second consecutive great game for the Lakers after he put up 30-plus points against Indiana on Friday. He came back with 29 points, 10 assists, and 6 rebounds against the Knicks. And so there was some discussion after the game with Luke at his post-game press conference, Luke Walton, that is, about who should be starting at point guard while Lonzo Ball is out. And it could be a significant period of time here that Lonzo has to sit out. It seems pretty certain he's not going to play Tuesday against the Celtics. He's going to join the Lakers on their upcoming 5-game road trip, but they're not sure when he's going to be back. And so there's a little bit of a debate now. It seems maybe it could be just another media fabrication here, but it seems that there is at least a competition for that starting point guard job while Lonzo is out. We've seen great things from Clarkson. We've seen great things from Caruso. We've seen some good things from Tyler Ennis, but also some issues. So, Eric, if you were Luke Walton, now you're coming off a coaching stint yourself. If you were in Luke's shoes, who would you start at point guard while Lonzo's out?
Well, I feel like it doesn't hurt to try different things. Like, they believed that Julius Randle was better coming off the bench, right? And he was really good coming off the bench. But at some point, they tried to start him because why aren't you trying a bit of everything? They tried starting Kuzma. They tried starting Nance and Randall. So why not mix it up a little bit, right? So Ennis has not shot the ball well. I think on a good team where he's a backup point guard, I think there's a role somewhere in the NBA for him. I don't know if it's on this team in the way they play, and I don't think it's as a starter. And he's just not shooting the 3 ball at all with any sort of efficiency. So why not try the kid, right? He's on a 2-way contract. Caruso, they have about 20-ish days. I don't know the exact number, but around 20-ish days. That's not a lot of time, but equally it's not a little time. I mean, you can stretch that out a bit. and get some good time in on the court. There's some travel days, practice days. He's charged for a day of service in the NBA, but they can work with that, and he can play. We talked, Josh, on the podcast dating back to the summer, how much we liked Alex Caruso, how fun he was in the summer league, how they don't win that championship without him. And yeah, he struggled in some stretches for the Lakers, but he's been coming up and down and has barely played. Give him a little bit of burn. Let him have an opportunity now, because Lonzo's out. I don't like Clarkson as a starting point guard. I like him as that energy off the bench. I don't like his matchup when he's going up against a good defense. When the big is very mobile and they're really pressuring the ball, Clarkson struggles. If it's a team that's playing back, further back, and not really coming out on the guards, guys like Cantor and even Porzingis, these guys aren't going to come all the way out to the perimeter. They're going to hang back a little bit because they're not nearly as mobile as some of the other guys in the league who can really get around. Julius Randle's an example of a big who can get out further and has the speed and the quickness. So that's not the case against some teams, but against some teams, Clarkson really isn't going to help. And a guy like that, I think, belongs off the bench. Come in there when he has the advantage, just attack through Clarkson. When he doesn't, you're going to have to find somewhere else to go. And he's gotten good assist numbers, put up good assist numbers last couple of days. That's great. I like it off the bench. So given the choice, I'd either stay with Ennis and Clarkson off the bench, but my personal choice would be start Caruso. Let him have a shot. See if it's a disaster. See if it's great. Keep Clarkson in the same role. Let Tyler sit for a little bit. I don't think he's done anything wrong. I just don't think he's done enough. And the team isn't a playoff team right now. So give it a shot. See what this kid can do.
I would tend to agree with you there all the way around, Eric, especially with starting Caruso. And I think there's an angle here where if you're the Lakers and you're trying to move Jordan Clarkson in a deal, whether that's ahead of the deadline or it's in the summer, whenever it is, you're going to need a backup point guard behind Lonzo Ball, someone that you can rely on to run the offense when Lonzo has to rest, because obviously he can't play 48 minutes a game. So I think this is a great opportunity for them to evaluate Alex Caruso at the NBA level, see what he can do in a bigger role, and maybe he becomes that guy then to become who is the Lakers' more reliable backup point guard, who becomes Lonzo's understudy, shall we say, even though he's older and more experienced in a lot of different ways. So I think this could be a great move for the Lakers. Obviously, at some point this season, if they keep him around the team and they keep playing him, it's going to cost them in the form of having to give him a real NBA contract. But if they see him as that type of player who's not just a fill-in, but a guy who can be a rotation player, some sort of role player for them over time, then I think it makes a lot of sense to get him on a deal, get him locked up, and get him a part of their system and make him comfortable in whatever role that they envision him in.
Absolutely. There's not a huge drop-off in what he does and what Lonzo does. They're different players, but they both like to play fast. They're both somewhat unconventional in how they play. Caruso is feisty. I mean, he has a long way to go defensively, just like Lonzo, but I like the way he plays. I think he's someone who could be a part of this team in the future. Depends on a lot of questions, but if they do strike it rich and get these max stars and do all these things that they have dreams of doing, you have to fill out the roster with cheap players, and Caruso fits that bill. There's not going to be a big market for him this summer. It's just not the case, and he'll be restricted anyway, because two-way contracts, once they're done, players on two-ways can be restricted. So, the Lakers right now, they're 17-29. They've crept all the way up to 11th now in the West, which a minute ago they were actually last in the West. It doesn't seem like maybe 2 weeks. I don't know how long ago, but they were at the bottom. So they've crept all the way up. They're tied with the Suns, but have the tiebreaker. And they're only 2 games behind the Jazz. Now, the Jazz got Rudy Gobert back, so I expect them to rise. The Nuggets have been struggling, and the Lakers are about 6 back, and the Nuggets are 9th. Clippers are doing well. Pelicans, sometimes they're really playing well, sometimes not. Blazers are struggling, but really the teams right ahead of the Lakers are the Jazz and the Nuggets. I think it's going to be a trick to catch the Jazz, and if the Nuggets really slump, maybe the Lakers can get there. They may be right now at 11 at the highest that they can be, and that might be where they stay. We've talked, Josh, you and I, about how their schedule's easier the rest of the way, even though they have a road trip coming up. The competition level isn't as high, so I'm curious to see. I don't think a playoff run is there to be had, but this is a team that is not tanking. They don't have a draft pick. I'm curious to see what they do and how hard they play. They still have a lot to play for. And we have the trade deadline February 8th. Like I said, and like you said, we'd like to see Alex Caruso. Give him an opportunity, let him play, give him real minutes, and see, is this a guy who could be an important part of what they're doing next year?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's not so much about a playoff spot for these Lakers, but it's about showing progress. It's about getting better. That's what it was from the get-go. And we've seen this team improve the last couple of games now. They've won by double digits without Lonzo Ball. Granted, it's against not the greatest competition from the Eastern Conference, but we're still talking about NBA teams here. So I think this is a really nice step for them as a team to gain that confidence that they can win and be effective and be functional more than anything on both ends of the floor without Lonzo. They'll get him back at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later, for those folks who like aesthetic basketball and like seeing the way that Lonzo is developing. But we'll see what comes of that. For now, we want to thank you all again for joining us for another edition of Hollywood Hoops Laid Back Reaction. He's Eric Pincus of Basketball Insiders. I'm Josh Martin of Lonzo Wire. We are presented as always by High Five, and we'll be back with you again soon.
He's on his way, going to Hollywood, he's busting into Hollywood.